Oh, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? You'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Assassin's Creed 2. Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast. Hello and welcome to VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, the show where we like to find the best game within a really specific category that we've come up with, mainly to cause affected performative arguments, because that's entertainment. For example, this week we're looking for the best game where a family member ditches you, dingies you, forsakes you in some way, inspired of course by the launch of Fallout on Amazon Prime TV, which I've watched the first couple of episodes of, and I think it's great. I don't know if any of you guys have watched it. That's what this is about.
That's what this topic was for.
Yeah, because in Fallout 3...
Why has he picked this?
Because Fallout games always have like some sort of thing where you're trying to find a guy, and in Fallout 3 it's your dad.
Is it Liam Neeson in 4?
Yeah.
It's Liam Neeson in 3.
3.
It's your baby child in 4 because they had to do a reverse while still doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's like someone has left you. In New Vegas, it's basically Matthew Perry, but like that's not a familial relationship. That's like, he's just a bad guy. God rest him. So, Fallout on Prime is great. I'm joined today by Rebecca Jones,
Hello.
Mark Warren, and Tom Orry.
I'm people.
Yeah, you bet. Because people keep at every time we do an episode without you, the comments are just like, "Where's Tom? Tom was robbed. Wah. The audience was robbed without Tom." That's a clever one.
There is an increasing number of people that are like, why'd you even let Tom speak? Like, what does he add? Does he know that you don't have to be so boring?
That's right. There is a counter sort of anti-Tom movement growing. There's a lot of people who are just like, I just skip him whenever he starts speaking. I don't actually believe that's true. I don't think anyone does that.
If they tune into this podcast, I say tune in like this is the 70s
on a transistor radio.
If they tune in and have decided to carry on listening for like 2 years but have chosen to skip me, I mean, I'm quite sort of I don't know what the word is, but it's like that's
flattered.
They've quite committed to the show, even though a big part of it they actively hate.
Yeah, it says a lot about how good the rest of us are. Rebecca, you've not been on for a while.
Have I?
No, it's been a little while. How do you feel about making your re-debut at the same time as Tom?
Oh, I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, but now I'm terrified. Thanks, Jim. And
Mark is Mark. For once you're on the show, but you're not standing in for anyone who couldn't make it. So.
Oh no! I am standing in for somebody. Dom's not in today. I'm standing in for them.
Oh right, no, that is true. Yeah, okay.
That's a good point.
I've always got to sub in for somebody, and today it's Dom. So I'll be doing a very Dom pick.
No, you are right.
Yeah.
You are right.
I was nearly Sharif. It was nearly all subs. But my voice came back enough that I can speak. So we'll never know what Sharif would have picked for this.
Yeah,
sadly.
Thank God. Okay. Right, okay, let's get into it. Just to say as well, there is now a premium paid version of this show, which is a lot longer, and you get to hear people bullying me for a little while about what I would have picked for the topic. As one YouTube commenter recently put it, so this is the guy whose opinion you're monetizing. Yeah, but in a sort of, in a disrespectful way where I get bullied, not in a sort of, not in a way where we would ever imply that my opinion's worth monetizing.
You say a lot longer. I want to be a bit... I don't want to get people's hopes up too much. It's like 10 to 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, it was half an hour last week.
I still think you should pay for that, to be clear. It's worth paying for. And you're also paying for the fact that this podcast exists. So you're like, I get an extra bit, but also I feel good because I've supported something I like.
Yeah, that's true.
But to be clear, you don't get that much extra. It's like 10 minutes.
really selling it. Okay, right. Let's go to, first of all, Rebecca, because I feel like the type of game that you're into is very well suited to this, what is quite a niche idea.
Yeah, it's probably why I'm here, even though you can, again, hear by my voice, probably shouldn't be talking this much yet, but I just was like, yes, it's my time to shine. I play a lot of sad narrative games, so now is the time to make my glorious comeback, as Jim kindly pointed out, and I hadn't realised until now. But yeah, I want to talk today about one of my very favourite games, probably not surprising to learn that I'll be talking about Life is Strange 2, which is a really good fit for this particular topic and just a game that I don't think gets enough love. So I want to give it a bit of oxygen today in this topic. So the Life is Strange series, in case you haven't heard me bang on about it yet, you've clearly not ever listened to anything that I've done because I can't go 5 minutes without mentioning it. A series of like very story-rich adventure games, generally starring teenagers, quite relationship heavy, but also very heavy on like supernatural themes. Yeah. And the second sort of main series game is about two brothers in Seattle who, after their dad dies, end up kind of out in the world on their own, trying to find their way to like their ancestral home. It's their dad is a first generation Mexican immigrant, so they're trying to get back to Mexico to sort of meet up with his family.
Okay, wow.
But along the way, there's sort of this huge part of the plot is the fact that they haven't seen their mum in 8 years. And they end up meeting up first with her parents, and then spoilers for this 5-year-old game, they also meet up with the mum in the end, and it goes into quite a lot of detail about the fact that she just kind of up and left one day when they were quite small children. And it's for saying that this is essentially a game about a kid with telekinesis, very realistically treated in terms of the reason why families break down. The reason why like a parent might choose to leave a family and have no contact for like the best part of a decade. And I'll say that like Life is Strange 2, I don't think it always lands the way that it tries to treat serious themes. There's a lot of discussion in this game about like institutional racism and bigotry and that sort of thing. And I think that although it tells the story well, the way it tries to end on that theme, for me, I thought it kind of landed a bit flat. But I do think that the family storyline, that is very much the secondary storyline running throughout, is really strongly done. I think that by the end of the game, you sort of see the different perspectives of the dad, the mum, and the two kids who have very different feelings about the way that their families kind of ended up. You have sympathy with all of them and understand all of the positions they come from. And it also does, go into silly video game set pieces, like we all burned down a church together because it was full of cultists. So that was a real family bonding moment with me and my mum, who I haven't seen since I was 8. And despite that, it is, it's quite nuanced. And I just think an interesting example of this trope where it does have a lot of emotional realism to it. The mum left because she was unhappy, not because she'd burned down a cult church. That came later.
Were the cultists in the church at the time?
No, depending on, because this is all about like morality and the choices you make. You can kill, I think, 1 or 2 people if you're really going for the bad guy run, but most of the cultists aren't in the church.
Okay. I'm like, I just had to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Because I did think like, okay, as bad as it is to be in a cult, I don't think they should be murdered in a fiery inferno. But I'm glad the game sort of agrees with me on that.
Yeah. No, only the cult leaders who are already dead at the point where you burn the church down, if you're going down the bad guy route, are in the church. So it's fine. I get video game morality,
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I feel a bit stumped by this choice.
Why?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I won't reveal what my choice is yet, but there's going to be a level of whiplash between this choice and mine that might hurt people listening.
I live to create that whiplash. This is what I'm here for.
I've stepped into the wrong podcast here, because Rebecca's choice is like, has meaning. It has actual themes. It's a real story about real things. Well, that can be real. Some of it. Mine is not, as such.
Yeah.
But we'll find that out soon. But I feel like I can't argue against it much, because it's like a proper thing. It's like I know it's a game that obviously has a younger audience, but it's like a proper grown-up game, right? It's got proper stuff in it.
Oh yeah.
Rebecca's gambit for this game is always that to choose the game with the most sort of resonant emotional core, so everyone feels bad for disagreeing with it. And it is
That's
a
like Gambit
strategy
in life, frankly.
And it is a strategy that works really well. So, can't fault it. Speaking of whiplash, I want to go next to Mark, who's already informed me of his choice of driving game.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as we all know, Dom loves driving games. Their favorite genre by far, not Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But yes, my pick is Burnout 3 Takedown on the PS2. And for two very specific reasons. I'm going to take you back in time now to 2008-ish. Barack Obama's just come into power. Nobody knows what coronavirus is yet. I am about 10, 11-ish years old. And one day, I'm playing Burnout 3 Takedown on my PS2 upstairs in my house. Nobody else, my parents, my sister, nobody else is on that floor of the house. And it's late on an evening, so it's very dark. And all of a sudden, there's a power cut. And I'm talking like a full power cut, as in everything, including my PS2, my monitor, all the lights and everything goes off. And this is the first big power cut like that wasn't just a kind of little thing that trips everything for like 2 minutes and then disappears, that I'd actually encountered. So all of a sudden, I'm no longer playing Burnout 3 Takedown because I've been kicked out mid-road rage, and I'm very angry about that, which is fitting for the theme of the race. But yeah, I can no longer fuel that anger because I can't play the road rage because I've been kicked out. And I'm basically all of a sudden alone, completely alone, in a completely dark room, not knowing what to do, without any torches or candles or anything, just sitting in the dark by myself with everybody else on the complete other end of the house.
Just to be clear, what is this? Is it a mansion? What are we talking?
We are talking a two-story council house.
Right.
That is, I wouldn't say it's the worst.
So it's not like you're off in a separate wing, right? You're just upstairs.
Yes, but when you're 11, that kind of distance, when you're in complete blackness, feels a lot worse than it is.
Was it winter? What time are we talking in the day here?
We're talking about kind of 8, 9 p.m-ish.
It must have been like at least before sort of March.
Yes. So it
was dark.
Yes, it was completely dark because, yes, as I say, literally, this goes off and I am plunged into eternal blackness. And basically what happened was I ended up having to come out and muddle my way down the stairs, which is quite dangerous when you're 11 and tall like I am and completely uncoordinated and prone to throwing yourself at the ground when it's light, let alone when you can't see what you're doing. But basically I had to muddle all the way down the stairs to get to my family on the other side of the house, because when I got there, they said that they were going to come up and get me with a torch and a candle, and that I shouldn't have dangerously tried to get down the stairs, possibly with a drink in my hand, to find them, basically, and make sure that I was safe. But I'll be honest, in the years since that fact, I don't believe that they were coming. I think that if I hadn't made that trip, if I hadn't, inspired by...
You'd still be in that bedroom to this day.
It's inspired by the burning rage and the desire to do things that Burnout 3 Takedown had put into me. I think if I hadn't made that trip, they'd never have come for me. And I'll be honest, whenever I play that game, I'm desperately scared now that there's going to be another power cut, because
just keep a lighter next to you from now on.
I don't smoke.
It's not a prerequisite of owning a lighter, just to be clear.
A lantern, then.
Yes.
Something, right? A wind-up torch.
Yes. But yes, the fact that they didn't immediately come for me, and I left it a good, 10 minutes or something of just sitting in the dark thinking this is my new reality before I actually made the trip. But yeah, I think they ditched me. I think they were all planning just to leave me there for time if I hadn't come down. And I'll be honest, the reason that I wanted to pick this is because the trauma that you get from having a family member leave you in a Fallout game, which is what we're playing off here, I think that's a trifle compared to the real life trauma that you get from stuff like this. And also there's the fact that whenever I've played Burnout 3 takedown split screen with them because I was actually okay at it, I'd take them all down and they'd get very angry and leave. So they ditched me in that sense too.
I feel like this is family therapy rather than anything to do with Burnout.
It's also like I get it's a good game choice, Mark, right? You've done well. It's a good game. Yeah. I love Burnout 3. It's one of my favourite racing games. But the story is just pitiful, isn't it?
I mean,
do you never go down those stairs in near darkness before? Like, it's not something you've ever managed. You never did. Like, it just feels like you stretch this so far to be a sob
Depends
story.
where the toilet was.
Well, the story is you may have been sat on your own in a room for 10 minutes.
I'll add another detail. Because we're working class and don't have anywhere better to keep them, there was a row of shoes down the side of the stairs that are quite narrow, literally stretching all the way up, that I could have tripped over at any point, because as we've already discussed, I am prone to
row of shoes on the stairs,
ground.
A toaster kept in the cupboard.
Yes, I had to avoid obstacles. This wasn't just a mere trifle.
I'm sorry, but that was really funny.
I definitely hadn't planned for it to be that, Jim. I'm really sad about this, and it still affects me to this day.
Specifically, the detail about keeping shoes on the stairs was top notch to me. But
that is a good one.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's move on from that.
Let's move on from that in particular.
Tom, dear God, what have you got for us?
Well, I was going down the path of creating this elaborate story that was going to end up being fake. Because when you said this topic, I was like, I had no clue what to pick. I was quite annoyed, to be honest, because I said I'd be on the podcast. I saw the topic. I was like, no idea. I don't play games that have themes and morals. And I thought, right, I have got something actually. So I feel like Mark's taken the wind out of my sails a bit by doing this whole my style. I'm going to tell you a story about when I was a child, right? But
sorry.
Let's go back to 1997, right? It was a Sunday. It was in the summer.
Was it after May?
It was after May, yeah.
So just for everyone, this is the honeymoon period of the Tony Blair government.
Yeah, okay, so I don't remember exactly when, but it was some point in the summer because I was on holidays from school, right? So I woken up usual time on a Sunday about 7 o'clock, because when I was a kid, from like the age of maybe 11 to 17, I used to go and play snooker a lot. I was massively into snooker, right? So every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I'd go and play snooker from 9 till 1 at a snooker club in the morning. So I'd do that a lot, and I'd play during the week, and I'd play league matches and everything. So I was well into snooker, right? So I woke up, usual time. It's going to sound like I'm well privileged, but I wasn't. My snooker coach would pick me up, right? Yeah. Would pick me up and my brother and a few other kids in the local area, and then we'd drive off to the club, which was like usually a couple of like about 40-minute drive away, because that's the only place they would let the kids play before they opened officially as like a bar or a club, whatever, right? So I get up as usual, snooker on the Sunday, excellent. I don't know why you're laughing already, Jim. This is just a normal story about my childhood, right? Anyway, I walk down the stairs, right? My nan is there. I used to, going on to the whole, we were poor. I lived in my house with my nan, my granddad, my mum, my stepdad, my aunt, my cousin, and my uncle, and a cat and 2 dogs, right? So it was a lot of people in the house. My nan was watching the TV, and I walked into the living room, and she said, I'm sorry, love. Diana has died, right? And like, I was 13. I cared mostly at the time about video games and snooker. They were my 2 things, right? I was well into both of them. I wasn't particularly into the Royals. I think many kids are, unless you're a bit odd, right? Being a Royalist at 13 is not a usual thing.
No.
So I was like, I didn't care about this. I was like, oh, right, yeah. I kind of like, that's sad or something, I'm probably said. And then immediately I was like, Mum, Diana has died. Is snooker cancelled? Right, that's all I cared about. Is snooker cancelled? Right. So I was trying to find out if snooker's cancelled because that's like this is my main interest in life at that point was playing snooker. I was obsessed with snooker. Right, and then Nan was like, "Your mum's out. She's at work. Yeah, you just have to wait and see if the guy turns up in his car at 9 and picks you up." I was like, my mum has abandoned me, right, at this moment. She ditched me, as you put in the to go and work. And
did your mum work as a paparazzo in France by any chance?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Right.
But she, usually she'd have called up my coach and gone, right, is snooker on today or whatever. But she couldn't do that. She was out earning money so we could live. But I resented that at the time.
Unscrewing the silencer from the rifle.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, I thought, this is a big deal. Dana has died. Maybe pubs are not opening because this is a big deal for certain people in the UK. So I just waited. I thought, all right, I've got like an hour-ish to wait until he turns up and honks his horn in the car. I thought I'll just play whatever. I'll put the PC on, play some games, right? So I sat there, maybe killed an hour or more playing games. Bad wording there, but I mean, I played some games for an hour or so. I was eating some honey nut loops. I don't know if you remember when they were honey nut loops. They were much better than the honey loops. I get why they got rid of the nut bit, but I preferred the honey nut loops for sure. And I'd basically given up hope that snooker was on because it trickled past 9 a bit, and I was like, well, it's not happening, is it? And then there it was, the honk of the car horn. He pulled up outside. Snooker was on. Bye, Nan, I shouted.
Did your snooker coach have tears down his face?
He was like, the England flag was at half mast.
He was distraught.
Yeah. Ran out of the house, grabbed my cue in what was a very big, fancy looking hard case. You had to have a good case if you're playing snooker, seriously. Not one of these like material ones, had to be a hard case. So the car was packed full of these like extended cases for no real reason. And then I was about to leave and Nan was like, "Oi, you've left your game thing on, right?" I was like, "Just turn it off, Nan. Don't worry. I've saved my season already." Yeah. So that game that was comforting me during that time when I was distraught about the fact that snooker may not be happening was Championship Manager 2 on the PC, the precursor to Football Manager. But that actually isn't the game I'm picking. The game I'm picking is Home Alone on the SNES.
Right, okay. Can you elaborate on that? So actually, I suppose you don't need to. I mean, it's like...
It's a game where you're home alone, left by your parents, right?
Yeah.
It's the most accurate game.
Parents have gone to Paris. He's dropping lots of clues here.
They've gone off. The funny thing about licensed games back then was that they were basically just all the same, but they had the characters from whatever it was you're in. So this is like a side-scrolling...
I was about to say, was it a weird little 2D platformer?
Yeah, and you had like... Yeah. I think he had a gun, even though like he couldn't actually have... He had some kind of gun. You basically jump around and you'd kind of... I can't remember exactly how it worked, but you either threw obstacles or you knocked them off things, and then the robber people would run after you and just trip over the thing. It was quite a basic thing, but like when you're like still a kid, basically, those kind of things were quite good. Like, and
that sounds quite sophisticated for the SNES era.
I imagine I saw it on Games Master or something, and it was like, it looked cool. And back then, licensed games, they weren't that different to other games because most games were shit. So it was just another game where you walked around doing stuff.
I like the big switcheroo there. Okay, so I've got to pick something now, and I'm slightly torn between. It's obviously not going to be Burnout.
Correct.
Unresolved trauma that I'm not even going to manage to get a win out of.
At no point in Burnout 3 is the main character abandoned by their family on any level, because there's no characters in Burnout 3.
You don't know anything about them. You don't know if they had parents. You don't even know if they had parents. That's how ditched they've been by their parents.
I think you'll find that there's no people in the cars, Mark, because otherwise they wouldn't have got a PEGI 3 rating.
There's no people in the cars.
You have to imagine that there are
sentient self-driving cars. If anything, they have been forsaken by their creators, who are mysteriously absent from this nightmare world run entirely by the automobile.
Is that not a form of parental ditching? I've read Do Android Stream of Electric Sheep.
But your disadvantage there is that I came up with it and no you, so you can't use it. Right.
Moving that down for all the times you've helped Connor's pitches. That game is like that.
All right, okay. So it's between Life is Strange 2 and Home Alone 2 on the SNES.
Not Home Alone 2, Home Alone.
Just Home Alone on the SNES, okay. I thought you said Home Alone 2, okay. Home Alone on the SNES.
One game is literally that the podcast could be called the name of that game, right? Home Alone. It sums up everything this podcast is meant to be about.
And he is literally Kevin McAllister. Like, I'm just superimposing the plot of the film onto the game, which I assume is the idea. He is literally left by his parents, who go off to have a nice holiday.
It's also a funny way, right? You don't have to feel bad about it because it's funny.
Yeah, I hate that I'm about to do this, Rebecca, but I'm going to give it to Home Alone.
No, I understand completely.
I mean, it's just so on brief. It's the most on brief, possibly the most on brief submission ever, although Life is Strange 2 is very good. I don't know if I came with, I don't know if I came in too serious or if everyone else came in not serious enough, but that is a completely fair win.
You're the only person giving us credibility. You're the one doing the job here.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Means a lot.
But you did lose.
Yeah, well, I usually do. I just like talking about games I like. I don't ever come in expecting to win, frankly.
That's
just a nice bonus.
That's probably the best strategy, to be fair. All right, okay. Home Alone on the SNES or Super NES, if we've got any people from elsewhere watching, because I've always weirdly picked up on that. There's always like an American in the comments going, SNES? What do you mean by SNES? Home Alone on the SNES is the best game where a family member ditches you or forsakes you in some way. I mean, I don't. It's really annoying, Tom, because you actually can't argue with it. So, all right. Supremely well played. Thank you so much for listening, watching, etc. Please leave us a 5-star review on any podcast service of your choice. And remember, we have an extended paid version of this podcast now, which will go on for another 15 minutes or so, where I tell these people my pick and they do a bit of workplace bullying. Are we allowed to promote it that way?
It's more like funny chatting.
Yeah,
we're not allowed to actually say it's workplace bullying. It was definitely.
If you want to hear that, you've got to go to VG247.com, and then the top right, there's a button that says support us, right?
Yeah.
So you click on that, and then it's got all the info there for you. I expect if you subscribe now, after listening to this, you'll probably get Jim talking for about 10 minutes about how, like, your brother left you in Deep Space Nine on the PlayStation or something.
No, it's nothing to do with Star Trek or Elder Scrolls or Assassin's Creed this time, and I promise you, I've actually thought about it this time. So if you want to hear what I've picked and want to hear how Tom demolishes it, you will need to be a paid subscriber of VG247.com and go to the website for details on that. But if you're not a subscriber, sadly, this is the point where we leave you. So bye, forlornly. You have to move forlornly now, Tom.
Oh, forlornly.
Tom's refusing to wave. You only get waved goodbye if you pay.